NRL Fantasy Round 10 is in the books, and I will say a bit of a mixed bag this week. So obviously some injuries affecting you guys, but then also some big scores as well. My view on this is that the pass score for this week was around that sort of 980 mark, maybe 970. So if you cracked 1,000 this week, you did great. If you're in that sort of 950s area, don't feel too bad. You're not too far behind. And if you're down below 900, tough week for you, but you'll bounce back next week, and we're heading into the origin period now as well. Now, first up, we're going to start with a pretty soft little game here, Manly v the Sharks. And this one sort of had some high hopes at the start. It was looking like a good fantasy game. You know, guys like Fanua Blake were flying, Nico Hines, these types of players, and they just sort of fizzled out here. And I feel like I'm saying this every week when we look at the Sharks games. They just don't seem to go on with games. They don't seem to want to go on with games. Like, they're not playing like a team who likes playing footy this year. And I feel like the Sharks over the last few years, they have played like that. Like, they've looked like a team that's really enjoying themselves. And I'm just not seeing that from the Sharks right now. So I know, like, I own a couple of pieces of this Sharks team in my fantasy side. And, you know, Fanua Blake and Nico Hines, they both scored okay in this game, but just not convincing. So if I didn't have Cronulla players, I'd probably give it another week and just really, really let them play out here and see what they're doing. In terms of scoring here, Kale Iro, so obviously 57 points here, grabbed the try. Nothing too crazy to write home about. It's a try-scoring game. He's going to pump out that 50 score when he gets those tries. Simpkin played bigger minutes this week, but Lachlan Croker is back relatively soon, so I wouldn't be targeting Simpkin. He'd be around 500K as well, so yeah, don't jump onto him. Britton Nakora, bit of a bounce back here, 53, had the line break there, but other than that, no heavy attacking stats. So, you know, if you got on Nakora, you're pretty happy with that 53. Brayley, solid. Fanua Blake, I'm a Fanua Blake owner, and when I saw him go for that try, I thought, oh, yeah, this is good. But you look at this stat line here, and he's just sort of playing a bit within himself when it comes to the stats. So if I just bump him up to the top of the list here, I'll just push him up here. So yeah, the 52, he's averaging about a 53. Played the 52 minutes here, which is plenty of minutes, but the 2 tackle breaks there, you know, had a couple of offloads, no missed tackles, no errors, none of that, but 2 tackle breaks in a game where he scored a try. Like, you know, Manly's middle forwards are quite fragile as well. Fanua Blake just didn't look dominant there, and either he's carrying a bit of an injury or there's something else going on there. But if I didn't have Fanua Blake, I sort of looked at the matchups, right? So when I bought Fanua Blake, it was on the back of that big score a couple of weeks back. He looked like he was back then. I saw the Eels matchup and the Manly matchup. I thought, you know what, Cronulla is going to dominate through the middle in these matchups. To be fair, they have, but Fanua Blake just hasn't been at his rampaging best. So I wouldn't be targeting him as a buy if I didn't have him right now. So I would steer clear, but you have him, you just stick with him, ride the wave, and hope he bounces back, because he should normally heat up through the origin period. That's normally what we expect to see. But Nico Hines here, Hines looked good early on in this game. So he's running the ball aggressively. You know, he looked like a guy playing with a lot of intent. And then the game got close, and Nico sort of disappeared from the game a bit, and, you know, the scoring slowed down as well. They ended up heating up down the stretch, but yeah, for Nico, 51 points, a bit disappointing as well. Thought I might get more out of him this week too. You know, the 79 meters, I think he had most of those in the first half there. 1 tackle break, no offloads. That sort of base, those Mayo stats, as we call them, weren't really there. So, I mean, if you got Nico, again, you ride the wave. You know, he's scoring between sort of 50 and 65. But if you don't have Nico Hines, I don't know if I'd target him at this point. Again, I'm just not convinced by Cronulla. Like, they've won a couple of games in a row here, but I'm just not convinced by them. I'm not enjoying their style of footy right now. So, yeah, it's a tough one. I'll look at him during the week, because obviously a lot of you guys are going to be selling Nathan Cleary this week. You know, they got the bye this week, Origin next week, that kind of thing. You might be looking at Hines as an option. I'll have a look at him more this week. But again, I'm a Hines owner. I know what he can do. I just haven't been convinced by these performances lately. Then Tyler Kohler, good score. Burns, solid. Ramian, you know, Jake Trbojevic. Interesting to see Jake Trbojevic winning one of his biggest scores of the year. Played at prop. All these were defensive stats, though. So 38 tackles, 1 forced turnover there, only 57 run meters. But Jake Trbojevic played at prop. Maybe he's got a bigger defensive work rate. You know, probably not worth looking at for fantasy, but just kind of interesting to keep an eye on. I just can't see a circumstance where I'd get onto him, so probably ignoring that one. Olakawatu, bit of a quieter game. He sort of heated up down the stretch a bit in this one, but 43 points. You're not super excited about that, and he's an origin chance as well. Mulatalo grabbed a double there. McInnes, you know, McInnes can do that. So McInnes is that bracket of, you know, 40 to 75 points. This is one of those 40-point games, but you know, no tackle breaks, no offloads. He'll score better than that going forward as well. Lukey Brooks has gotten kind of cheap, and Trey Evans is going to be out for Origin, but just not that interesting to me. Brooks had 0 kick meters in this game. Trey Evans had 600. right? So it's not a great role for Luke Brooks if you're looking at buying him at the moment. Just Tavanga. So we talked about Tavanga quite a bit this week, and the sort of take I had on Tavanga was the most likely outcome is that sort of 40 to 50 minute role, right? 40 to 50 minutes in the middle. He played about 9 minutes at hooker in this game, but it was about 40 to 50 minutes. So he played the 50 minutes here, right? Plus, the 9 minutes at hooker. 41 tackles, no tackle breaks, no offloads, 40 meters run. It wasn't an inspirational game. I mean, defensive work rate was great. And if you bought him in at 366K, 40 points, covers the buy rounds, plays hooker, all that, you're not upset, right? The scoring was fine. He did miss a crucial tackle, though. So on Britton Nakora, in the play before one of the early tries was scored, Tavanga missed a pretty rough tackle there on Nakora. So that could hurt him in the game review later. But I don't know. I think this was just sort of a par score. So pretty par here. They got some guys coming back. I've got on Tavanga, and at 41, he's going to make a bunch of cash. So fantasy-wise, I'm not upset. I just want to make sure he keeps that role going forward. That's the big question I have in my head. And I think he will, but I don't think it was convincing enough that if you didn't have him, you'd go and tear your team apart to buy him. So yeah, again, we'll look at Jazz Tavanga more. We're going to know more at Teamless Tuesday, but I thought it was just he sort of stayed steady with his performance here. Like he was solid enough without being special. I did think he played a really nice link role. So when he was playing that link role for Manly, I thought he was feeding good ball out to the backs there. And I think he was better than Gerbo at that role. But again, not a super convincing performance. So I can't tell you with certainty that he's going to keep this role. Takiaho, Cherry Evans there. Cherry Evans has been pretty bad for fantasy recently, and that continues here with a 37, only 26 run meters in this game, so just not really getting his hands on the ball. No attacking stats there either, sort of shoveling it on. Burbo, pretty quiet. And then down the list here, Trindle quiet as well. Tom Trebojevic, a 25 for Turbo. He's down 150K. He's averaging 31.2. Turbo's going to get cheap at some point, and he's nowhere near the Origin side right now. Like after that performance, there's a lot of talk about him in the Origin side. I haven't had him anywhere near mine at any point, and I think that performance there just sort of says, we know what Turbo can do at his best, right? He's a fantastic footy player, just absolutely dynamic. When he's fully fit, he's in the Origin side, but he's just not at that full fitness, not running with that intensity that he normally does. So yeah, I think Turbo's not going to be an Origin, which means he plays all three major buy rounds. The 25, though, not convincing. He'll get cheap, and we'll look at it in 2 weeks' time. Keep on your watch list. Ruben Garrick, again, a quiet one here too. 3 errors, 6 missed tackles. That's going to do it to you. It's about minus 20 negative stats there. So, no attacking stats. Without those minus 20s there, he would have been in sort of the low 40s. So, Ruben Garrick, you stick with him if you have him. But that was definitely a quiet game for the Gazmeister. Then down the list here, Hopewadi, quiet. Nathan Brown, less minutes as well. Kennedy, quiet. Yeah, we don't go for Kennedy. Saab had a nice play in that game, but only 12 fantasy points. And yeah, nothing else really to talk about there. So let's keep pumping through these games. And we're working back from the most recent all the way into Thursday night. So Storm v Tigers up next. And again, a game that was a bit strange for game script. So obviously the Storm just pumped Tigers in this game. They're up by a bunch early. It didn't take long at all for them to get out to a 20-point lead. We saw Pappenhausen just dominating as well. So he could have ended up on a higher score than this, but the 99 is pretty solid there. In fact, let me just quickly check because I record these as these updates are coming through. If you guys do want to check the updates as well, you go into the NRL app and you jump onto a team or a game, and you go into the player stats in that game. So, for example, Pappenhausen, he updated to 100, right? So it's going to be a 100-point game. I just wanted to hammer that home that he scored that. Cam Munster down to 72. That's so annoying. And then Terrell May ended up with a 64, so he stayed at that score. But yeah, for Pappenhausen, 100 points. Look, this doesn't change anything about Ryan Pappenhausen, really, in terms of fantasy production. He can do this. He can go and do this. He scored 4 tries. Before he scored multi-tries. He's had these sorts of big games here. This game was a 200 meters run, 7 tackle breaks there. Did a bit of kicking. Jerome Hughes was not kicking the ball much at all in this game. 127 kick meters for Jerome Hughes. So Pap stepped up in that regard. The 10 goal kicks as well. That's nice to have there. But really, if you have Pappenhausen, you enjoy this. If you don't have Pappenhausen, I'm not tearing my team apart to go get him. There's just no reason to do it. He's not playing round 12. He is a solid enough option, but he's probably a guy that does get considered for the Origin team. Not a certainty by any mean, right? But there is a bit of chat about him for Origin. Personally, I think it's between Edwards and Tedesco. But at this stage, you don't know what Laurie Daly's going to do. Yeah, they've got the Sharks next week. The Sharks just shut down Turbo. Then they got the bye. I don't know. If you liked Pappenhausen, you probably already had him. I wouldn't let this score persuade you to go get him. That's kind of my view on this. Like, yeah, I think you wanted Pappenhausen at the discount. You're going to pay full price now. You're going to pay a lot of money for Pappenhausen. He's just that kind of guy who can score that 30, 40-point game that has these explosion games as well. But for him here, it's a 53 average. Even with this massive score, I don't know. I just don't think you need to rip your team apart to get Paps. But look, good luck to him. I'm glad to see him back in full form. And the Tigers didn't put up much of a fight. So perhaps it was a cracking game here. Down the list here, Cam Munster. He's definitely a sell for the Origin period. He'll make the Origin side. What I will say is 3 consecutive games now where he's pumped out over 100 meters run. And for me as a Munster owner, it does tempt me. It definitely does tempt me. Like, because he had 0 100-meter games in the first 7 weeks. So he was under 100 meters every week. Last 3 games, he's gone over 100. And when Munster runs the ball that much, so 164 meters in this game, for example, he's running the ball that much, he opens himself up to opportunities. And we haven't seen that convert to attacking stats over the last couple of weeks, but we did see it today. So 1 try, 2 try assists here. He had the 3 line breaks, which is absolutely epic. 6 tackle breaks, 2 offloads. Still had his customary 6 missed tackles, which has been a staple this year. Had a few more kick meters as well, with Jerome Hughes not kicking as much. So for Cam Munster, there is every chance that he heats up and sort of gets hot and goes back to the old Munster. His averages at a 48 now, so that actually is a bit above what you paid for at the start of the year. He's going to make a little bit of cash, but I still think it's a bit of a failure. I've started with him in round 1, and I've just stuck with him just due to not prioritizing selling him. Just thinking he might bounce back, and I'll give him a chance to do that. So I was happy this week, but I just think with the Origin period, you probably can't hold him through that period. Like, he's going to get a rest. They got Wishart, who's such a capable backup. But then you look at the fact that, Jerome Hughes is getting most of the rest because he's dealing with that shoulder issue. So I guess Jerome Hughes doesn't play Origin, though. So following an Origin round, we might see Munster get a long rest. Like, you've got to sell him when it comes to round 12, is my view here. So if you've got Munster, enjoy 1 more week with him. Hope he goes big again. And then probably look to sell in round 12. If he goes big again, though, he's making cash, then maybe hold for round 14, 15, and then sell. Sorry, round 13, 14, and then sell for round 15. So that's how I view Munster. Xavier Coates, solid, but not interesting for fantasy. Terrell May had the 74 minutes, 64 points. Tigers just threw nothing at all at the Storm. And I will say Terrell wasn't a big problem here. So 52 tackles for him. Had the 3 missed tackles there. One of them was pretty crucial as well. It did lead to a try, but man, he was getting left on an island against some very, very quick players. You got the 4 tackle breaks there, only 1 offload. But he might have a few more offloads in a day game where they're playing from behind, but we didn't really see that in this game. And 107 run meters. So really just a game where he was basically shut down in attack because the Tigers threw nothing at the Storm. 64 it's the lowest of the 3 captains here. So you've got, sort of him at 64. You got Payne Haas at 70, and you got Nathan Cleary at 75. For Terrell, game script just didn't go his way. Definitely didn't play out for him. For Haas, that big line break was the big thing that boosted his score, but very solid from him. And for Cleary, obviously going to Golden Point definitely helped him a ton, especially with the comeback, from the Cowboys there. But, the sprint the Panthers went on as well. So, you just had a week where everyone was sort of in the same area, that 65 to 75 bracket. Just a couple of game script circumstances that played into a few guys' hands. But yeah, for Terrell May, solid enough captain going forward. Definitely one of the big 3 that we look at. So for Solomona, a bit of a bounce back, actually. 63 points here, 36 minutes. So you're not that excited. And look, it's a game where the Tigers got absolutely decimated. So for Solomona had a try. He had the 10 tackle breaks there, 2 offloads, 125 run meters. He's not going to do that every week. It's just a game where he really lit it up. Jerome Hughes only played the 67 minutes here. But again, a lot of attacking stats across his sort of sheet here. I will say 6 tackle breaks is encouraging. 82 run meters is a bit low, but the big thing we've been looking for is the return of that running game for Jerome Hughes. And we definitely saw a bit of it in this game. He also didn't look as, he didn't look as hobbled to me when he was running the ball. But then you throw in the fact that the kicking meters were down to 127. So he's definitely not 100%. And my view on this is, even if he does make a bit of cash next week, you wait until round 13. Like, you really want him fully fit before you buy Jerome Hughes. And at 544K, getting cheaper and cheaper. He'll be in that sort of mid 500s area around round 13. You look at Jerome Hughes then, and you look at guys like Ewan Aitken at that point as well. but not right now, unless you really, really want to. I mean, you could, but I'm just thinking wait for round 13, let him get fully fit, let him have that week off for the bye, and he'll be sweet. Now, down the list here, Katoa, solid enough. King, Blore, Garlic, bit of a better game from him. Grabbed a try in this one. Twile, Seyfarth, made 44 points off 54 tackles. That's, he worked hard, but it's not a great fantasy production here. But he did work hard. He put in the work, and, Seyfarth, he always does that. So, you've still got him in your team. You just keep on rolling with him at this point. Like, there's a lot of players dropping down, getting injured. Seyfarth's just doing a job for you. Dream Buller, he tried hard in this game, I will say. He sort of threw a lot at him, but just couldn't make it happen. Did have the line break here. 40 points is solid. Liero might be in the origin picture, might not, but just one to keep in mind. Nick Meaney, really quiet from Meaney considering the score they ran up here. You normally expect him to be a bit more involved. Galvin was on like 5 points for a long time. Ended up on 33, which is solid enough, but if the Tigers are going to struggle, it's definitely going to hurt Galvin. And then Luai, again, you like the stats a bit better here. The 89 run meters is a bit better. 3 offloads, 2 tackle breaks, but yeah, just not the Tigers' day. So you can't read into that too much. But I will say Luai at some point might be interesting, especially if he doesn't make Origin. Toa Kamanu, really low minutes again, so you just can't trust him. Coruscant, yeah, again, no attacking footy for the Tigers, so he scored low. Suafe Longo, really quiet from him. Again, you don't expect that in a big win. Adam Dewey, yeah, this one was a real shutdown for the outside backs, and he scored a 16. Royce Hunt with his customary 13 points, but below his 17 average. But he was one of the biggest mirages heading into this year in terms of fantasy traps, and I hope you all avoided him. Sunia Taruva, that's kind of interesting, 10 points there. He scored a bunch of tries to start the year and has really cooled off ever since he made that Galvin post. Actually, I feel like he's kind of cooled off of there. But he at the same time, he's a talented player and he's going to get cheap. And I actually might consider Taruva at some point if he gets cheap enough, because he's one of the big parts of the Tigers' attack. When they're on fire, he's one of those guys that's a real barometer for that. Now, Cowboys, Panthers, Isaiah Yeo and Nathan Cleary, they really bounced back in this game. Had a couple of, mixed bag games. Cleary's had a few big ones recently. Yeo's been a bit quiet, but they've been a bit all over the place, both of them. For Isaiah Yeo here, pure base stats sort of game. A few Mayo stats here as well. By the way, Mayo stats, they go on the burger. They're not the attacking stats or the base stats. There's something in the middle, so tackle breaks and offloads. But for Isaiah Yeo, it's 38 tackles, 0 missed tackles. You got the 4 tackle breaks, the 3 offloads, a forced turnover, and 176 run meters. He also put a little grubber in at one point, so there's 6 kick meters there. No points for it, but nearly had that forced dropout as well off that play. So for Isaiah Yeo, this is just, what Yeo can do. And when you're playing 90 minutes, the full extra 10 minutes for Golden Point, this is what Yeo can do. Like, this is the upper end of sort of Yeo's production in terms of base stats. He has a few attacking stats games here and there, but he really sits between sort of 50 and, the mid 80s there. So this 79 is at the top end of that. So yeah, you love to see it. With the Panthers players, Nathan Cleary as well. These guys are going to miss round 11. They'll miss round 12. So I'll go, actually, by the way, I'm going to make a video on Origin players and who to hold through the bye period and who to sell and my perspectives on that. But for the Panthers, they're in a pretty tough spot because they miss round 11. They miss round 12 due to playing Origin. They play round 13 and round 14. They miss round 15 due to Origin. And then that Origin game is in Perth on Wednesday, and they play in New Zealand on Friday or Saturday that week. So it's a very short turnaround, and they're having to go from Perth to New Zealand, which is, if you haven't flown to Perth or New Zealand from Sydney, which is where they're going from, it's quite a long way, right? So they're not going to back up is the word on the street, that they're not going to play round 16. So Panthers Origin players are probably guys that you're going to sell at this point. So Isaiah Yeo, Nathan Cleary, I know they're playing well though. It's a tough one, but they're probably guys that you're looking at selling over the next few weeks. So Nathan Cleary here, 75 points, definitely benefited that back end of that game. Had some nice runs, some nice attacking plays. For him, really no attacking stats though. So when I say the attacking plays, there was a few runs where he had nice offloads, a few tackle breaks, sort of trying to make things happen. For him though, 23 tackles, he had the 4 tackle breaks, 3 missed tackles there, 1 offload, the 1 error, a forced turnover, and then 800 meters kicked with 90 meters run. 5 goals as well, but pretty base stat heavy, and a few Mayo stats there as well. It sort of came down the stretch there where he heated up that score. He was looking kind of mid for a while in this game, and did heat it up down the stretch. So, if you captain Nathan Cleary, you got the best score of the big 3. But I will say you're probably a bit worried there for a bit of that. But Nathan Cleary, this is a pretty triumphant score, because No attacking stats. And when I say that, I mean no tries, no try assists, no line breaks, no line break assists. You expect a couple of those. In a game where the Panthers put on 30 points, you expect a bit of that, but it all ran through Blaze Talangi, who we're going to talk about in a bit as well. So yeah, for Nathan Cleary, he's really rebuilt that base, and I guess it hasn't really left him. But that base has been really solid. The attacking stats haven't popped off as much this year, but that average is at 63, and that includes that low scoring game. So his average without that low scoring game is in the low 70s, right? So Cleary is just up there with Haas and Terrell May, and I would consider him as such if I was you. Isaiah Papali'i, he played in the edge back row spot, and I've been ranting on about this forever. I don't have him in my team, so I can't really brag or anything, but 72 points. He sort of bounced back, grabbed the try there, 140 meters run, some tackle breaks, all that kind of thing. Didn't look at his absolute best. I still, as a para fan, I know Papali'i best, and he wasn't quite at his absolute best, but that 72 is very solid, and I think he really straightened up the attack on that edge as well. So there's a chance that they do keep using him in that capacity, but at the same time, they are a bit light on middle forwards on the bench. They were running Jenkins and Schneider on the bench. So I think it's probably more likely that Papali'i goes to the bench prop role again. So I wouldn't be reading into this. I wouldn't be targeting him. But I guess you could think about it if you really wanted to. Liam Martin's going to be out in round 12, but the security for that role is just not there at all for Papali'i, but the upside is absolutely huge. Then Violea, big score, just a bit of a one-off for him, so I wouldn't read into it. Johnny Bateman, solid again. So he has this in him. He definitely has this in him every now and then. Blaze Talangi, 58 points here. And this is a game that went perfectly right for Blaze. So you got the 58 points. You had a try there, 4 try assists. It's crazy. Then you got, the stats in general aren't super flattering other than that. So you obviously got those huge attacking involvements there. 1 try, 4 try assists. But defensively, you got 20 tackles with 6 misses. So that nullifies, the points to a pretty significant degree because you got 20 minus 12. So you got 8 points there out of defense. Then for attack, the 3 offloads is definitely appealing. But the run meters here, 46 run meters, very little kicking as well. So for Blaze, you kind of, if I was going to be interested in Blaze Talangi, I'd want to see those run meter numbers up around that 100-meter mark, playing that real running 6 role. And what we saw in this game instead was when the ball went out to him, things just sort of came off. He made some really nice plays with his hands in particular, sort of passing on. But we didn't see that bulk, work rate in attacking running. And that's what we want to see from Blaze if we're going to be buying in at, let's say 450K. Because for him, 46 run meters, 1 tackle break. If you take out those attacking plays, it becomes a much quieter game. So from my perspective, I'm not going to jump on just yet. But if in the right circumstances, you might. I just don't love the 46 meters. So for me, he's not on my radar really until we see that role evolve. For Mitch Kenny, solid game, but again, not someone I'm targeting, although Hooker is light. So if you do want Mitch Kenny, go ahead. Liam Martin, solid game, made some great shots. I love to see it before Origin. So Liam Martin for the Blues, 100%. Reece Robson as well. He looks like an Origin jersey too. Had a clutch error in this game, made a nice run and then dropped the ball. But otherwise, he was very solid in this one. So I think he'll make that Blues side. Tommy Dearden, he's been in good form lately as well. The 50-point game. Jeremiah Nano grabbed a try. Was very threatening in the air. 8 missed tackles is pretty brutal, but what are you going to do, right? If you bought Nanai, you kind of expect that. You expect the try and the 8 missed tackles. So, 49 points, you can live with it. I think he does make the Queensland side, though. McIntyre was solid, replacing Cotter. Lindsay Smith, 48. You can live with it, not too excited. Garner had the 2 tries in this one, 48 points. Jackson Purdue had some nice plays towards the end. Again, the back end of this game and the comeback from the Cowboys really boosted his score. So ended up with the 48 here, had the try assist, a line break, 2 line break assists. 193 meters run, so a lot of running in this game. Had a bit of open field to play with as well. For Jackson Purdue, I'm happy sticking with him. I'm just going to ride the wave with Purdue, and I get that he's not a super elite scorer, but the Cowboys have a fantastic bye schedule. They're awesome. After round 12, it's super elite. Doesn't have dual position, which I wish he kind of had, but even without that dual position, Purdue's a guy that I'm going to stick with and just sort of ride the wave. So yeah, Purdue staying on my side. Indefinitely. It is an issue though, because in those major buy rounds, you can only play 2 centers, and you probably already have Rob Toya. So you might have Purdue, Toya, I guess Dylan Lucas, you can play in the second row, but then you might have Herbie Farmworth as well. It just becomes a bit tricky there. But Purdue's a guy I'm going to ride the way with. I think when they have those day games, especially easier matchups, that's when Purdue really shines. And then going down the list here, Henry, Leota solid, Clifford saved his score towards the end. Rob Derby had an absolute howler of a game and then sort of made up for it towards the end. I'm glad they didn't lose that game, actually, for him. And he grabbed that try as well. So 5 errors in this game. That was pretty damning. He looked pretty unhappy for a while, but grabbed the try, sort of bounced back, made some really positive plays. So I'm happy for Derby because he's a talented guy. He's good to watch. You don't want to see him sort of beaten down too much. Scotty Drinkwater 44 and Drinkwater again. Look, Cowboys made a big comeback towards the end. Drinkwater's score was absolutely saved by that. He was sort of looking like a 25 and then made those big plays at the end. So if you have Drinkwater, you're fine with this. Like, just keep riding that wave. Down the list here, To'o grabbed the 37. He'll probably be picked for Origin anyway. Tommy Jenkins with the 36. So Jenkins only played 40 minutes in this game. Grabbed the try. It was a no line break try. It's only an 8-point try there. 16 tackles, playing in the center spot. So big defensive work rate. Had the 2 tackle breaks there. The 2 forced turnovers is massive, as well as nearly 50 meters run. So for Jenkins, I would say good and bad news for Jenkins. The good news is that keeps his cash generation going in the right direction. He's making money for you. If you got him on the end of your bench like I do, then you just keep riding that wave. But the downside is that Luke Garner was super effective. So he scored 2 tries in this game. Garner was on fire in this game. So it's very tough to call that Jenkins will take the spot back off Garner. But in round 12, if Brian To'o gets picked for Origin, you'll see Jenkins play in round 12 anyway. So from my perspective, you probably hold Jenkins at this stage. Make a bit more cash, plays round 12, unless you're buying another round 12 wing fullback, like a Tedesco or one of these guys, and then you can make that move, as long as Tedesco is going to get picked for Origin. That's the big thing. Tungo, a bit quiet, had a HIA, I think, late in this game, went off pretty early, but I think he might have passed that. It doesn't really matter because they have the bye next week anyway, so he should be all good. Dylan Edwards, 32 points. He's getting very cheap, and if he's going to get picked for Origin, he might be interesting, but he's not playing great at the moment, not playing as well as we know he can. Murray Talangi, solid. McKaylee, Patea. So if you got on Patea, you only got 22 minutes out of him, pretty quiet. And Kai O'Donnell down the bottom, who I doubt he's in many teams, right, at this stage. So you're probably not getting on Kai O'Donnell. Let's keep bumping through these teams. So we got the Dragons and the Warriors up next, and up the wires, got the win. Bergs and I had a big debate on the tipping video about this one. I thought the Warriors, by the way, I said Warriors 13 plus when we were tipping, and they got out to 14-0. And they just sort of switched off and let the Dragons back into it, which is pretty frustrating. But the Warriors got the win in the end. Luke Metcalf, all class, very clutch. He's looking every bit a halfback who can take a team to, a deep finals run. So, yeah, I'm liking Luke Metcalf's form a lot. But for the Warriors here, top 3 fantasy scorers, you've got Aaron Clark, Mitch Barnett, and Chance Nickel Clockstar. Now, for the Aaron Clark score here, 70 points, 65 minutes. He did come off the field with a bit of a hobble. I think it was a cramp, right? I haven't had any confirmation. I haven't really heard anything about it since. I think it was a cramp, though, for Aaron Clark. So I wouldn't stress about that too much. The 65 minutes is great. It's going to drop off a little bit when Fisher Harris comes back. So just keep that in mind. But I'd say it might just drop back to like a 60 minutes. He still could be easily that sort of 55 average in 60 minutes. So if you got Aaron Clark, just ride the wave. Enjoy this as long as you can. If you don't have Aaron Clark, I think it's too late now. But you just got to let this one go and get on Jazz Tavanga or Riley Smith or one of these boys instead. For Aaron Clark, great score, 52 tackles. You had the tackle break there, 2 missed tackles, 1 offload to ground, 177 run meters. Really, the 50 tackles, 177 run meters. That's massive. That's 60 points by itself. Get a bit of extra there as well. So Clark in great form in real life and pumping it in fantasy. Mitch Barnett, he's obviously trying for that Origin jersey right now, but 47 tackles for him. You had the 3 tackle breaks, the 1 offload, and nearly 200 meters run. Also had a couple of kick meters there, but for Barnett, 69 points. Bit of a bounce back to form. If he didn't get picked for Origin, you might consider it. But the Warriors' bye schedule is just not that good. So you're probably not going to be jumping on Mitch Barnett anytime soon, especially with Fisher Harris coming back ASAP. Nickel Clockstar, he had 67 here. So solid game from him. 200 meters run. You had the 2 offloads there, 2 forced turnovers, 7 tackle breaks, 13 tackles, 0 missed for the fullback as well, which is pretty crazy. Again, the bye schedule is just not good enough for me to consider CNK. But if you do want a pod, he is a pod. He is a pod at the least. Jaden Sewer, good score, but he should play Origin in my perspective, so I probably wouldn't be considering him. The Bellend bounced up here, and I will say, obviously, a lot of these minutes, when we talk about middle forwards, Toby Couchman. I'll just jump down to Couchman and jump back up because he's going to impact a lot of these discussions. So for the Couch, 26 points in 24 minutes, had the 24 tackles, not a lot of running there. For the Couchman, he went off with a shoulder issue. So he went down in a tackle, looked pretty beat up in that tackle there. So really, it did look painful. He then went off with that shoulder issue around 24 minutes into the game. He was off for the half. He went up the tunnel. And at halftime, they basically said that he's not been ruled out yet. So he actually can get ruled out until during the second half. He was sitting on the bench as well. I know. I look at this and I sort of see it pretty optimistically. Like I think if he was sitting there on the bench, waiting to come back on, and then got ruled out during the second half, like obviously they haven't done the scans yet. We don't know the actual answer. But my take on that is that he wasn't brutally, destroyed in the shoulder, right? Like it was a very painful issue. But there was a chance he could come back. So my guess, if I was going to guess how long Couchman's out for, by the way, my guess is worth nothing because I'm not a doctor. But my guess would be that it was a painful issue and they're going to keep him out next week. Then they have the bye in round 12 and they'll aim to bring him back round 13 if they can. That's kind of my thoughts here. So you'll miss one game, then obviously the round 12 bye. And if it's that kind of situation where it's maybe 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, that kind of thing, you stick with him because he plays the round 15, round 18 major bye rounds. So I'm a non-Couchman owner, but really just as a footy fan, like he's a guy who's stepped up this year. I want to see him get back in there and sort of keep doing what he's doing because a couple more years of this and he'll be in the Origin picture as well. So my guess is it'll be sort of 2 weeks and you'll be holding Couchman. That's my guess. I'll get you the confirmation when I know it. Obviously they'll do scans this week, but for right now, obviously the 26 is not ideal in your fantasy side. Now, jumping back to the top here, it definitely impacted a lot of the minutes rotations. So Jack DeBellin, only 48 minutes, but grabbed the 60 here. Looked a lot more involved with Couchman out. Like, I feel like he sort of stepped up when Couchman was gone. For him, 32 tackles. He had the 2 offloads there, the 139 run meters there, and had a try assist in this game as well where he fed a ball to Dylan Egan. So great score from DeBellin. If Couchman was out for a long time, DeBellin would be interesting in fantasy, but only if Couchman was out for a long time, and even then it would be quite risky. Gutho, bit of a bounce back game. He's been a bit quiet recently. He has these big games every now and then. He's a good footy player, but just not consistent for fantasy. Dylan Egan, that's our boy, right? 57 points. He went back to the bench and ended up playing 50 minutes, mostly in that sort of Couchman role. So played more in the middle, played more of that prop sort of role. Did play a bit of edge as well. But for him, grabbed the try, the line break, 37 tackles with only 1 miss. Just doesn't miss tackles, this guy. Had the 1 tackle break and 80 meters run, 57 points. I get a lot of questions about Dylan Egan in general and sort of, should I sell Dylan Egan? He's being benched, this, that, everything else. I'm just going to say, like, my blanket answer to that question for the next probably 8 weeks is no. Hold Dylan Egan, ride the wave. I think he's going to be sweet. Like, I just think he finds ways to score fantasy points. In this game, we saw a 57 in 50 minutes. Obviously, scored the try, but he's been scoring a few tries. Like, he runs a nice line, Dylan Egan, puts himself in a spot where ball players like to feed him. So, yeah, I think you just hold Dylan Egan unless like he shows us that, in back-to-back weeks he's not going to produce. You don't sell him. Like you don't preemptively sell him. Just give him a chance to keep on going. He's a young guy, very talented, and he's going to get it done for you. So I'll be sticking with Dylan Egan for quite a while is my expectation. And it's the same thing with like a Rob Toyer. Like he's stuck into my team as well. Jackson Purdue. I just like these young guys who are really grabbing it and have more potential to even hit like higher upside there as well. Metcalf, big game for him. Not a massive fantasy game, so 54 points, but he did look good in real life and sort of steered the team around nicely. Bunch of attacking stats here. Had the try assist, the field goal, the line break assist. He then had, a bit of a lower set of base stats there, so only 37 run meters, only 9 tackles with 3 missed tackles, the 2 tackle breaks and error. Yeah, he did all the kicking there, so that's a good bit of news. But for Metcalf, I would say you're not rushing to buy Metcalf in your fantasy side, but if you have him, you stick with him for a while, at least till round 12, and you figure it out from there. Luciano Leilua played 80 minutes. And if Leilua goes back to 80 minutes, by the way, so if Egan goes to the middle rotation, whatever it is, and somehow Luciano goes to 80 minutes, which I think is quite unlikely because, Couch from getting injured definitely was the reason Leilua did that, then Leilua would be super interesting. Right, 388K right now. He's a guy who can average sort of high 40s there. So at round 13, we can reassess this one. But Leilua might be a guy that you look at as a cheap option if he comes out and plays 80 minutes next week. Wade Egan got a rest again. 50 tackles, 50 points. Pretty sort of boring performance there. Hamish Stewart, again, another one who got a few more minutes there with Couchman hurt. Played that lock role, 50 points in 44 minutes. If Couch was out for a while, Hamish Stewart would be interesting for you too. Then Val Holmes, Big game, Valmonga. Man, nice line break from him, actually. It was a really nice, nice run. So looked quick, looked powerful. 45 points in 39 minutes. Fisher Harris back soon definitely eliminates his fantasy relevance. Leka Halasima, the 40 points in 80 minutes there, no attacking stats, so 120 run meters, 32 tackles. You got the one tackle break there. He looks pretty solid for an edge back row role, so he looks like he's going to keep that role. But my concern here is that when Fisher Harris comes back, it pushes Murata Niokore into the edge back row rotation again. And we also know Capewell was playing center in this game, so Capewell is going to go into the edge back rotation too. Like, I just don't think Halasima is going to keep an 80-minute role. So as much as I rate him, love him as a talent, I like the price point as well. I just don't think 80 minutes is in his future when they're at full strength, if they get to full strength. So that's my one concern there. But if you have Halasima, obviously ride the wave with Halasima. But if you don't have Halasima, I wouldn't get FOMO and jump on now. I think it's too late. Then Flanagan, Sully, Damien Cook, 44 minutes. He's playing really low minutes, but if at some point he got the big minutes again, he'd be interesting. Laken King Tongia, for him, he had the try assist, which was nice. He had the try saver as well, but the 38 run meters is not what you want to see. So for a guy who's pretty much exclusively a running half, you're kind of wanting close to 100 meters run, some tackle breaks, all that sort of thing. And we saw 38 run meters, one tackle break. I know he made some nice plays, but just didn't quite look as much like that running half as he did the week before. So if you've got him in your team, you probably don't trust him as a starter, but you definitely keep him, ride the wave there as well. And if you don't have him in your team yet, I wouldn't be desperate to go and get him at this stage. Like, you've given it a week. So I didn't jump on last week. I think last week he made sense, by the way, 260K. It made a lot of sense. This week he'll jump up to like 290K. You don't have to go get him, right? So I may not get King Tongia. I may just wait till round 13 and see what happens and make a call then. That's kind of how I'm looking at this. But if the cash out, to someone in that high 200s area does help your team, then go and do it. Little, solid enough here with the 30 points, but, the minutes just aren't there for him. Crazy that Little is averaging 40, by the way. He's averaging 40 in like 30 minutes a game. Like, it's just absurd. Harris Tavita, quiet game for him. Pacific Tonga, actually, we got to talk about him, man. What a baller. And someone messaged me earlier in the day with a bit of a quote, and they said, coaches describe him as like a young Andrew Fafita. And I just thought, oh, okay, that's a player that I need to pay attention to, right? 29 points in 30 minutes, 18 tackles here, no missed tackles, no tackle breaks, but had 111 run meters. I thought he looked explosive, looked damaging. Wasn't trying to overplay his hand, wasn't trying to throw silly offloads or skip across the field. Playing against a tough Warriors forward pack, and he aimed up. So I was actually very impressed by him. If there's an injury to Couchman for a while and Pacific Tonga looks like holding a spot, he could be a guy you target as well. Like in the middle forward spot, it's a tough position. He does cover that middle forward spot for rounds 15 and 18. So I've got an eye on him. I'll give him another week, obviously. I'm okay with, copping some cash increases. We have so much money right now anyway. But in round 13, he is on my watch list 100%. And just to really rehammer this, by the way, the watch list has like 10 to 15 players on it. So I'm not going to buy all of them. I had someone in the comments last week sort of going, oh, you talk about all these players and don't buy them. It's like, yeah, I've only got 3 trades a week, just like you guys. So can't buy them all, but Pacific Tonga is one I'm watching. If he jumps up to, maybe 35 minutes, 40 minutes even, like let's say 35 minutes. If the minutes are going in the right direction, he looks good, looks like he's going to earn a bigger role, and Couchman's out a while, then Pacific Tonga could be really interesting. Then down the list here, Ford way less minutes, had the HIA as well. So his minutes are all over the place. Like it's anything from 65 to 26 here. Tuapiki quiet, Laban, Niokore is getting really cheap, but just not producing in fantasy at all. Afoa started well, but didn't get back on. Sloan, Capewell, Wateen Zelezniak really quiet. And Tamari Martin is getting cheap as well. So if you ever got to start again, he might be interesting too. So we'll keep pounding through here. We've got the Raiders and the Dogs, and this is the comeback of the century. Just a crazy game of footy. The Raiders were up 20-0 at halftime, and Dogs came back and won 32-20. Just absurd footy, but I'll go through this list here, and there's a bit of a mixed bag of scores. So Joey Tarpanay is the first one. 72 points here, 60 minutes. He was on our buy list this week, and this is why he can just pump out big numbers. For him, 37 tackles with only 2 missed tackles. He had the 5 tackle breaks, the 4 offloads, only 1 error there, and 170 meters run. Basically a pure base and Mayo stat performance there. So for him, 72 points, no tries, no try assists, no line breaks. That is absolutely A1 form from your middle forward. And if you're looking at this week and you're going, hey, you know what? I actually don't have any issues to deal with injury-wise. I don't mind the idea of trading Isaiah Yeo to Joey Tarpanay because it's 1-for-1. It gives you that origin coverage. It gives you the major buy rounds coverage. Obviously, the weeks after origin, Yeo doesn't play. Yeo doesn't play round 11. That Yeo to Tarpanay trade is, a slight downgrade in scoring, but a massive upgrade in schedule. So I think that's going to be a common trade this week, and I'll talk about it a lot more on buy, hold, sell. Hudson Young, he should play Origin, right? He should play Origin. Great score here, 68 points. You don't need to hear about Hudson Young anymore. We've been hyping him up. He's expensive now, so you're not going to get on him before Origin. Liami Kickout, no Preston in the game. I don't know if that influences him that much, but he did get a lot more ball in this one, I felt. In attack, he was really targeted as well. Got a nice ball on the outside where he just sort of looked quick, looked powerful. Scored that nice little swan dive try. Now for Kickout, had the try and the try assist there. So for him to get 66, it relies on a lot of attacking stats, but he's got those in him 100%. If the Dogs are playing well, then he can grab those. I just personally wouldn't be targeting Kickout myself. I think, there's too many sort of injury questions. The base stats aren't as good. I think there are some other edge forwards that are better targets. Like I would prefer to have a Kai Pierce-Paul over a Viliami Kickout myself, just for the safe base there. And, Pierce-Paul could hit some attacking stats eventually, but not to the level of Kickout. Stephen Crichton was on like no points at all and then just lit up the second half. So let me read these numbers actually, because he got 65 points here, had the try, had the 4 goals, 2 try assists, 3 line breaks, 1 line break assist, had the 4 tackle breaks and 161 run meters. So for Crichton, it just, he had spiders on him at one point. Like that start of that second half, he just dragged them back into that game. And what I'm going to say about this is big fantasy implication of this isn't that you're going to go by Stephen Crichton. Like you're not going to do that. He's not super relevant for fantasy. 40 average, like he's doing his job, but not a guy you're targeting. The big implication is that any questions about Crichton's origin selection, which, again, he was in my origin team last week, so it doesn't really change anything for me. But any questions have been answered. Like you're picking him in the origin side. In fact, I would, I've been saying this for a bit, I would probably have him as captain, the origin side. Like I think at that center spot, he doesn't have all the pressure of being a half or any of that sort of thing. He plays the full 80 minutes, which we didn't have last year in our captain. And he's a guaranteed selection, in my view. Like he's the best center in the game. Got to say that after these recent performances, right? Best center in the game. He comes up clutch. He's probably the captain. So, yeah, Stephen Crichton, Latrell Mitchell, I view as the 2 centers. I don't think Turbo's in the picture, and I don't think Brad Best has played well enough to cement a spot or steal a spot from those guys either. So Latrell and Crichton. Going through the list, Max King got a 62. Grab that try. He's got a couple of tries recently. That try definitely saved his score there, but you'll take it, right? You'll take it. He would have scored in sort of the mid 40s without that try, so still solid enough. But the 50 minutes is just a bit concerning there because they're missing so many guys. Still in playing that 50 minutes, so Max King has definitely been managed. I don't know. He plays all the major buy rounds. He probably doesn't get picked for Origin. He's not in my top, props for Origin there. So you could make a case for getting Max King now. He's at a pretty good price point. I don't know, the 50 minutes though, like the minutes just haven't been great, and they got guys coming back. Josh Curran's back really soon. I guess Salmon goes out for a while though. Preston's still going to miss a few more games. Like Tupanua still has about 3 more games out as well. I don't know. Max King's an okay option. He feels like a guy who, when you play him in those major buy rounds, he's going to score you 40 points, 45, and he's going to be a bit disappointed. You can have some FOMO when some other bigger options go big instead. Zach Hoskins is really interesting here. So the score is basically irrelevant. Scored a 59 in 62 minutes. What I want to talk about here is that Matty Nicholson is injured. So Nicholson came off at the very end of this game. A bit of an ankle issue. So it looked like it was an ankle. There are fears. There's a lot of reports going around. I think they're kind of BS, right? But there are fears that it's going to be a broken ankle, blah, blah, blah. Like these reports are just kind of like throwing the sensationalist worst possible outcome out there as a bit of truth. And I think you just got to, wait till the official results come through. But hopefully for Nicholson, range of outcomes here for him is that it's like a sprained ankle kind of thing. And it's, 2 to 4 weeks there versus it's a full broken ankle and it's like 2 months. So that is the range of outcomes there. We don't know what the answer is. They can't really tell right now. So any reports coming out earlier probably not really going to indicate much to you. But for Zach Hosking, if Nicholson's out for like 2 months, then Hosking becomes not a must-have, but he's in that conversation because at the price point, we know what he can do fantasy-wise. He has a pretty good Origin schedule. So yeah, Hosking's definitely going to be one of the target if he's out for a while. But if Nicholson's only out for 2 to 4 weeks, then unless you want a pod and you're kind of desperate at edge forward, I probably wouldn't be targeting Hosking. So just depends. It depends on the time frames. We will 100% talk about Hosking either in the pods or the buyers list this week. So rest assured, I'll give you those answers, and we'll have something concrete once we know how long he's out for. Fogarty with the 57. So kind of came back in this one. He was a bit quiet early and just pumped out some numbers. Had the 2 tries just there, definitely helped. But for him, you know what it is with Fogarty, right? It's a bunch of kick meters. He was good in this one. So you take that 57 to the bank. Jacob Carraz had a nice one, 57 points as well. And he was pretty quiet in this game too. Had 12 tackle breaks, which is just absolutely enormous. Had 3 tackle breaks on that try he scored off a forward pass. Like, that one was pretty. As a non-owner, I saw that and thought, oh yeah, that's a mile forward. And they didn't call it. So if you're a Carraz owner, enjoy a bit of luck there. But in general, he's just pumping out some good numbers here. It's a 59 average right now, so he's absolutely killing it. I think that average regresses back down towards a 50. I think, you got to give him some acknowledgement. Dogs are playing really good footy, and Stephen Crichton in particular is feeding him a lot of good ball as well. So that probably bumps his average up a little bit from what I was expecting previously. But for Carraz, he's on fire right now. I will say a couple of crucial errors that, it's not relevant to you as a fantasy coach as much, but there are a few errors he made in that first half where I sort of thought, ooh, the Blues selectors will be watching. And they might not like that, right? There are areas where you're sort of pushing for an offload or going for different things and not tucking the ball under. That's one thing to keep in mind. I think maybe he had a great game in this game, but also has a few of those areas in his game. So maybe the Blues selectors don't go with him. They go with someone else instead. I think it's going to be Turbo. I think Lomax comes back next week, which is expected. I think Lomax will take that spot. It's just this is basically just the main thing I'm thinking about here because we know Carraz is a good scorer. Just if he makes Origin, it really screws you over. Like it really screws you over because he'll miss round 12 for Origin. He'll miss round 13 as a bye, play round 14, then miss round 15 and 16 again for Origin and a bye. So if you're getting Carraz, you really want to be sure he's not making Origin. Like that's the big thing because that could totally stuff you around. Then down the list here, Tommy Starling, a bit of a bounce back game for him. Played the 80 minutes. Reed Marnie, 80 minutes as well. 49 points with 60 tackles is kind of comical, but you like the 60 tackles if you have him. Montoya, May Nicholson. So Nicholson scored all right. Got injured right at the end of that game. Zeri, Burton. Burton came back to a pretty decent role here. So this is a positive game. As much as the 38 points is not encouraging, it's a positive game for Matt Burton because you see the 406 kick meters here, came back to that dominant kicking role and had the try assist there as well, but 124 run meters, just didn't have any of those extras, like no tackle breaks, minimal offloads, not a lot of attacking play, isn't goal kicking still. But an encouraging one, and when Matt Burton gets cheap enough, we'll definitely be looking at him as an option too. Papali'i, Hayward, Morin, Tomoko, Weeks. This is sort of the deadland here. We're not really talking about too many of these guys. Jamin Salmon, he'll be out for a while. I think it looks like he might be out for 10 weeks-ish. I loved his little celebration, though, for the try. I thought it was pretty funny. I think that, look, him and Ricky obviously don't like each other, but I think the banter and the back and forth, everyone says, don't do it. Take the high road. I think it's great. It's great cinema. Like, it's good to watch. It's very fun. So keep on pushing it, Salmon. Come back in, score another try against Canberra next time, and you'll be sweet. Then Marietta, Hopoi. Hopoi was pretty good, actually. So I'll just shout this out, and it's probably not going to be fantasy relevant for a while. But Hopoi had the 25 points in 27 minutes. Made some impactful runs here. Had a forced error as well. I just thought he looked good. Like he came on, played in the middle forward rotation. I don't think he's going to have a spot when they have all their guys back, but he's a guy to keep an eye out for the future because him and Jack Todd, I think both have a bit of game about them, and they just sort of sit in reserves for the Dogs. Obviously, Todd's injured right now, but yeah, two guys I've got an eye on for sure. Tamale, I don't know, quiet one. He started really well and then just sort of stopped playing, about 15 minutes in. But the 7 tackle breaks, you live with that. 24 points, just needs some attack to go his way. Then Sunny Savage. Savage 12 points with a try. He's getting very cheap though, Savage. Like Savage might be, 230K at some point. Could be a cash out we look at that point. 7 errors is crazy though. That's crazy work. Then Paddy, Seb Chris, really quiet. Saluka Fafita managed 0 points in 18 minutes, which, yeah, wow. If you got on Saluka Fafita as a buy round cover guy, good luck. Good luck with that one. That's a pretty mad move. Rabbitohs and Broncos, and Latrell Mitchell carried the Rabbitohs to a win here and scored that little try at the end as well. And it's a controversial one. It's like got a lot of chat right now. I feel like most people are sort of going for Latrell and they're saying, oh, I like the try, play till the whistle, blah, blah, blah. I don't mind it either. Like if he wants to score that try, he can score that try. But here's my counter on that. If you're going to, pretend to take a knee and sort of fake the play and concede there and then go for the try after, the next time you do that, you're going to get smashed. And when he gets smashed doing that, we've seen Reece Walsh cop this sort of treatment before. Tarpanay put that shot on him. When Latrell gets smashed in that scenario next time, I don't want to hear a word of complaining from anyone, right? That's what he's done there. From now on, when Latrell Mitchell takes a knee or, concedes, he's going to get hit. And that's fine. But also the try is fine too. So it's fair game. But now you've just sort of put that rule in place. So that's what I'm keeping an eye out on there. But hey, look, he had the right to do it. The play was still on, and he kicked the field goal, the bloody field goal from 50 meters out to win this game. So epic performance from him, 82 points. Had the try saver, the field goal there as well, 8 goals, had a line break. Still not hitting a lot of those stats that we want to see though. So the 112 meters run, 2 tackle breaks was a bit light. Like you kind of want, 130 meters, 5 tackle breaks out of Latrell as an average. So he kind of hasn't really addressed that running game issue that you would want to see fixed if you're buying him in fantasy. The kick meters are bulk, nearly 400 kick meters there. And he covered, 3 forced turnovers is absolutely crazy. And also the 3 offloads there as well. So 82 points, you live with that, ride the wave. He gets picked in Origin 100%. So you're not targeting him for fantasy. Payne Haas, 70 points. And for Haas, I will say too, by the way, I sold Latrell a few weeks ago. So I'm pretty sad. I just thought, he's going to make Origin. I'll move off. And I have bulk regret about that. Bulk regret. Kept Munster, sold Latrell. So yeah, you can't win them all, I guess. Payne Haas, 70 points here. Payne had that big line break. That was a big booster to his score. Probably added about 10 points. Outside of that, it was a very solid base stat performance. So he would have looked like a 60 and he added about 10 attacking play there. For him, 40 tackles, no misses, 4 tackle breaks, 1 offload, 150 meters run. Broncos sort of had this game in the bag for a while. So it kind of felt like they weren't trying to play attacking footy. And then they just sort of lost the game at the end, which it was a bit bizarre. So for Payne Haas, you sort of felt like they were playing a bit more conservative for a lot of this game. And then by the time they realized they needed to start playing again, they lost it already. So it was a strange one for Haas. Like he kind of played this one like it was a win. So the stat profile plays out like it was a winning game. So I wouldn't read into this game too much from Haas. I think they come out next week and, sort of really fire. Like my expectation is Haas will have a big one next week. I haven't actually looked at the matchup yet. So let me just double check that. But I reckon Haas might be the best captain next week because they cop this loss. Yeah, Dragons next week. If Couchman's out as well, that could be a big one. The Broncos will want to make up for this one. And I think they'll keep playing. So what we saw today in the Storm game was the Storm kept on playing when they got up. They didn't give up, right? I think the Broncos kind of parked the bus a bit in this game. It's a bit of an EPL term where, a team stopped attacking, but they sort of stopped attacking the Broncos once they got their lead. And I think they won't make that mistake again next week. So Payne Haas is a great captain option against St. George. Paddy Carrigan keeps on pumping, makes Origin for sure. Brendan Piakura, we got to talk about this guy here. 62 points. He's bumped his average up to a 24 now. Back-to-back 50-plus games for him. Has the line break assist. 28 tackles is, pretty good defensive work right there. Then 6 tackle breaks, 2 offloads, 145 run meters. Look, the 80 minutes is encouraging, and there's no one to come back and steal his spot. So Brendan Piakura is legitimately an option that you can look at, which, we've had him as the mascot for about 10 weeks now, and it's good to see him finally turn it around for the show. So he will definitely be on the cheapies list. I will consider Piakura very, very strongly for my team. I definitely do need to beef up my edge back row spot. So I've got Egan and KPP there, but I wouldn't mind grabbing Piakura as well. So yeah, this is a fun one. We can all jump on Piakura this week. Ewan Aitken of the 60 as well. Ewan Aitken, round 13, special. So definitely target him then. Kalamatangi played at the prop spot, played 73 minutes. This is solid, 200 meters plus run. No tackle breaks there, 37 tackles. He scored a 56 up against a very strong Broncos forward pack. So you can't complain about that at all. Like that's exactly the role we want. And then you'll get a bit of the extra attacking stats, tackle breaks, offloads when he plays against a weaker forward pack. So Koloamatangi, if he's named at prop again next week, is definitely a trade target. If you want to wait till round 13, you can do that as well. But Koloamatangi and Aitken, you could have both those guys by round 13, and I wouldn't balk at you at all. Like they're both really good options if they can keep the roles that they're in right now. Adam Reynolds, solid. Ricky, Pakes, Stags, Mariner, yeah, kind of meh. Havili scored the try that definitely saved his score. He was having a shocker before that. Jai Arrow, yeah, 42 minutes is not encouraging. Koloamatangi was the big minute prop there. Billy Walters, Kepi, Campbell Graham. Campbell Graham, not quite getting cheap enough for me to consider, but he is losing cash, and he does have a good origin schedule, so I'll keep an eye on him. Selwyn Cobbo, had the 4 tackle breaks, the 200 meters run, which is good, but just isn't getting involved in the attacking plays. I feel like he's not sort of getting a lot of that fullback ball, where he's going to score tries, and that's my worry there. He's been shut down a few times as well. He had a few nice little involvements in tries, but just wasn't the main man. So yeah, for Cobbo, I mean, it's been a solid. Like if you bought him a couple of weeks ago, like I did, he had the 55. This is the 32. So he's averaged, around that sort of 40, 44 mark. He's priced at a 32 when you bought him. You can live with that. Like he's pumping out value. He's pumping out value. Just not a great origin cover guy, but my team is full for round 12 anyway. So I'll keep riding the wave with Cobbo. They got the Titans after the bye as well, which is a matchup where he should score a few points. He's got that dual position, so he gives me good coverage. And I have a lot of issues with guys who have non-major buy round buys, like Roosters players and all that as well. So I'll keep riding the wave with Cobbo, but I wouldn't be targeting him if you didn't have him already. Isaiah Tass, he's cheap, I guess, but not a target for me. Ben Hunt, major hamstring injury. Well, not major, but I think it's about 4 weeks there. So he'll be out for a while. He'll miss a bit of origin. And I think Ezra Mann might come in as well. So just keep an eye on that. And Hetherington, yeah, like 23 minutes. What's going on? Hubner, bit of a quieter game, but 46 minutes is a good roll. Then Xavier Wilson. Weird one that Wilson only played 25 minutes in this game. I thought this was quite bizarre. I thought with the bench they had, we'd see maybe Payne Haas lose a few minutes, but Willison just played 25 minutes, and they were late minutes too, so he was sort of a non-factor in this game. Bentley Hape, yeah, solid enough. And then, we're down in the 20s here, so Moale, Jensen, Sullivan's not been great at all. Like he hasn't carried any of that fantasy production from last year, so yeah, no interest there. Baker, Shibasaki really quiet. Humphreys, Arthurs, Jai Gray. Jai Gray only played 12 minutes, so you're not going to do much with that. But Humphreys here, let's talk about him, because obviously the big question was with Latrell, is he going to score well? No goal kicking, loses the major kicking role. And the answer in this one was a no. Like 19 points is an absolute shocker. He will lose a bunch of cash. So first thing, defensively, he sort of dropped off from that 25 to 30 tackles down to 16. Had a few missed tackles, no tackle breaks, no offloads, and a lot of attacking involvement, no attacking stats, 51 run meters. So you're not seeing that sort of base from him there. And then only 200 kick meters as well. So instead of that 700, you're getting 200 there. Humphreys will get cheap, and if Latrell at some point is, he's playing Origin or he's unavailable, whatever it is, Humphreys would be interesting. But while Latrell is in the team, Humphreys is probably I don't think he'll score 19 every week. I think he averages like 40, 35 to 40 would be my guess. I think he does play better than that game, but not at the level he was at the start of the year. Then Knights v Titans, another one where the team got ahead and just sort of stopped playing footy. And the Knights, they were up 20-0 in this game. And the Titans, to their credit, just kept playing, kept throwing things at them. So go to the Titans. I'm glad to see you guys get a win and, come back in this one. But for Newcastle, if I was a Knights fan, I'd be so pissed off. Like this team is just, stacked with guys who can play footy. Like you look at Dylan Lucas, you look at Bradman Best, Kai Pearce-Paul's in a bit of form. Jacob Safidi had a cracker in this one as well. Frizzell plays tough footy when he's on the team. Fletcher Sharp's playing unbelievable footy. But then you've got Kalen Ponga there, who's just sort of. We'll get to him in a sec. I just haven't liked what I've seen from him at all, and just this team just doesn't seem to know what they're doing at all. Like they've changed halfbacks a bunch. Cogger doesn't feel like he's got a lot of fluency. So for fantasy, it's fine. Like we're going to get our scores out of these guys, but for Newcastle, they're going to have to change something. So going through this list here, Big Tino played 70 minutes, scored 73 points, absolute cracker, 250 meters run, 40 tackles, 4 offloads, 3 tackle breaks. Not a lot of negative stats there as well. 9 kick meters. Like Tino chipped for himself at one point. This guy is absolutely carrying. He's one of the best middle forwards in the comp. And I think he should get a bit more credit, actually. I feel like we're talking about other guys, a lot. And like for fantasy, he's not as interesting. Like he's averaging a 59, which is awesome, but he's not in that Terrell May, Payne Haas sort of tier. But in real life, I think I don't know, where would you have him ranked? Like obviously Payne Haas, I think, is number one. Like Payne Haas is a beast. But you'd probably consider Tino for number 2, right? If you're looking at best forwards in the comp, I think Tino, like the way he's played this year in a Titans side that really hasn't given him the support he deserves, he's been fantastic. So yeah, red hot Tino. If he plays Origin and all that, so you're probably not going to keep him through the Origin period. But if you had him at the start of the year, you've done a great job. He's pumped out a big average here. Phil Sami, big score from him. He sort of has those every now and then. Wouldn't trust it. Dylan Lucas with the 69 here. Grabbed the try there, which definitely helps. That try bumped him up from like a low 50s score to that sort of 69. But if you just look at tackles and meters, it's a 53, right? So Lucas is getting the job done. He was at the top of our buy list last week, him and Fletcher Sharp, with the big ones we were pushing. So him, I think we had Tarpanay there as well. And I can't remember what other player we had. But we had KPP. I do remember that. That was not as good. But a lot of those options did go well. So Dylan Lucas crushed it. If you got Lucas, like a lot of us here did, then you probably have the Lucas and Herbie Farmworth combo, and they both went 70 points each. Brian Kelly, we talked about him as an option, was getting cheap. He's ruined that now with this performance here, scoring 67. Basically no attacking stats there too. Had 6 offloads and nearly 200 meters run. This is a cracker from Brian Kelly, but he now becomes fantasy irrelevant because he's not going to get cheap enough for you to buy. AJ Brimson, bounce back game. A lot of people are looking at selling him this week. He came up and he showed them why they shouldn't. So 2 tries here, the 26 tackles as well. 128 run meters. That's what you want to see. You're running 6, big run meters there. 200 kick meters as well. So a bit more than what we expect there. Whereas Jaden Campbell had the 384. I think that will get more Jaden Campbell dominant as we go along, unless Kieran Foran comes into the team at some point. Campbell, 63 here. Again, not crazy attacking stats, but did heat up down the stretch. So he was a bit quiet at the first half. And then when they came back, obviously, he sort of ran up a score. Had the, the try assist there, the line break, some goals there as well. Defensive numbers were decent. 100 plus run meters. That's what you want to see from these guys. If Campbell and Brimson are running 100 plus meters, things are going to happen. Like there's going to be offloads, tackle breaks, attacking stats. That really is the barometer, right? Like you want to see that 100 meters plus. It's the same as when we talk about Cam Munster. If they're putting themselves in those opportunities, they're just too talented not to take advantage. So if you like Campbell, I'm not against buying Campbell right now. Just he did look like he had a bit of an injury in the leg. I don't know what it was. He was hobbling around a bit in this game. He ended up playing great down the stretch, so maybe he's okay. I just think wait till round 13. You might cop a bit of a cash loss. His break even was 48 this week, so he goes up a bit of money. I would just wait for round 13. I really just think that's the better move. But if you want to jump on this week, you can. Just a bit of a risk attached to it. Khan Pereira, bounce back game. Jacob Safidi, 60 points in 56 minutes, 200 meters run, 33 tackles, and then 1 tackle break, 1 offload. Nothing else there. So 60 with just base. Like this is, 54 points in pure run meters and tackles. This was the upper end of what Jacob Safidi can do. This doesn't change his forecast in my head really at all. Like he's a 42, 43 kind of average guy. He's done that every year. He'll do that again this year. This 60 is an outlier in the upwards end. He'll have some games where he scores like 35, 37 as well. It'll sort of balance out over the years. So yeah, Jacob's feet. The issue here actually is this 60-point game has actually hurt his fantasy value because he played so well that he's kind of pushing himself back into Origin contention. And he really is a guy. He's done the job for the Blues before, so he definitely could make the Origin side. So now with this game, I was thinking about buying him this week. He was on our pods list last week. I probably wait till I know the Origin teams before I buy Jacob's feeding now, if I buy him at all, because that Origin pick or even just being in the Origin picture could be really damaging for Jacob Safidi. You could get picked and it ruins your buy cover there as well. Fletcher Sharp, big score here. Grab the try. Mate, the Sharpedo, like Torpedo, Sharpedo. Actually, I'm not going to use that nickname. but Sharpie, maybe like a pen. I don't know. We got to get a nickname for Fletcher Sharp. Like maybe Sharpie. When he scores, it's permanent. That's the reason I'm not writing these. But for him, 59 points here. Grab the try. The try assist there. 20 tackles, had a couple of tackle breaks there, 3 offloads, had the forced error, 94 meters run. Like, this is just a game where you just got involved in a lot of different ways. The offloads, tackle breaks, run meters, defensive stats are always good. Not a great base game from him, but obviously when you grab the try, it definitely helps there as well. So he's pumping out numbers, averaging 57. Like Fletcher Sharp is killing it. He's going to have some quiet games at some point, but it doesn't look like anytime soon. Mo Fodawaker, yeah, solid enough. Should get picked for Origin or at least be in that conversation. So I wouldn't be targeting him. Cleese Haas, solid. Frizzell, solid as well, but not cheap enough. Matt Croker grabbed the try, but only 30 minutes there. So not a guy I'm looking at. Kai Pierce-Paul, solid enough in this one. They had a lot of ball early, so he didn't get those big defensive numbers. 45 points, you can live with it. Like, it was a very unphenomenal sort of game for Pierce-Paul. He avoided suspension as well. So he was put on report, or at least I think he was put on report. Only got a fine. So that's super easy. RCG, with that sort of minutes coming back, 45 points here, priced at 400K, actually could be interesting as a pot option, especially through the Origin period, but probably not for me. Bo Firma with the 42, kind of invisible in this game, but invisible, but he made 28 tackles, ran for 150 meters, so still solid enough. DeGroot's kind of quietly breaking out as well, by the way. So 39 points for him. If you have him, stick with him. If you don't, I wouldn't target him. Then down the list, Jojo Feeder, Crossland, Gagai, quiet. Leo Thompson played 40 minutes. I was talking a few of you guys out of Leo Thompson last week just because he's sort of not worth it at that price. And I didn't expect him to go this poorly, though. For being transparent, I thought he'd keep on going. But, yeah, those minutes are really bad. Jacob Safidi played big minutes. If Safidi makes Origin, Leo's helped. Like, if you have Leo, you probably hold him at this point for round 12, but you're not happy about it. Greg Marzu, he picked up a knee injury, went off 10 minutes to go. Scored all right in this game, but he's going to get scans on that knee. It sounds like it's like a 4-week sort of injury. So you're probably going to be selling Marzu, but just wait for that official confirmation. Then Schiller, quiet. Cogger, I hate to rag on a guy, but Cogger deserved a lower score than 31 in this game. Like, this is a rough one for Jack Cogger. And, he's got some game. He's been a part of winning teams before. He was over at Penrith for a while. He's a good football player, but he was shocking in this game. And I don't know if he's going to keep that spot. I don't know if, like, surely Jackson Hastings comes back at some point. Like, I think Cogger could be on the chopping block here. So if you have him in a draft league, you're not going to be too excited. Then Ponga and Best really quiet here, down with 25s. And no one else to talk about here. So I'll just jump straight into Kalen Ponga. And for Ponga, yeah, look, like, I try to avoid being too negative on players on this channel because, we're talking fantasy, right? Like, we're not, I'm not, I don't know who's a good example. I'm not Gordon Tallis, who's, sort of achieved everything in the game and can tell players this and that and everything else. But for Kalen Ponga, there were a few moments in this game that really stood out to me. And a couple of them particularly, especially one of the big ones, just before halftime, I can't remember who had the ball. Someone had the ball. They got the arm free. They looked for an offload, and Ponga was behind them and just totally disinterested in getting the ball. And they were sort of trying to, promote the ball, create a bit of play. He was sort of standing there like, no, just let the half end. And I think they were around halfway as well. And the old Kalen Ponga would have been on that ball thinking, all right, how do I create some more points here? How do I scheme? And it really represented the issue for the Knights here. So they ran out to a lead and they got absolutely blown out in the second half. And it's because they stopped playing footy. And Kalen Ponga is their leader, and he really embodied that sort of issue and that attitude. So for him, he's just not seeming excited about attack. Like, the stats here sort of speak to it too. 105 meters run, 3 tackle breaks there, no attacking stats yet again. Like, he had 8 points in goal kicking. So you take that off, it's like a 17. I really thought he looked worse, and it's crazy to say because he's looked bad, but he looked worse in this game than he has in any other game this year. And just watching it, I just thought, you know what, this is the perfect game for him. Like, they were on top, they were running downhill. This guy's trying to offload to him, and he's just sort of not looking like he wants the ball. At this point, and I'm almost moving towards a sell. This is where I'm tossing this up. I'm going to give you an exact answer on Tuesday. But you almost have to sell him. Like, he looked terrible in that game. And I don't know, there's been that many wake-up calls this year that he hasn't taken that I don't know if he's going to take this one. He's got Parramatta next week, though, and they do leak some points, right? No Simonson for Parramatta as well. So you think in theory he should wake up next week. He's playing for an Origin jersey. So you probably do have to hold him just another week. But bloody hell, he was terrible in this game. Like, just really bad. So I wouldn't be starting him. I'd be putting him in a loophole spot and just hoping for the best. But for Kellen Ponga, like, he played so bad in this game that he might not get picked for Origin. And then that kind of makes him interesting again in fantasy. So It's a really tough one, and I feel for you Ponga owners because like some of you guys jumped off early and all that sort of thing, and it's worked out for you this time. But that strategy doesn't usually work. Like usually waiting for a guy to return to the norm is actually the smart play. So if you've stuck with Ponga, don't let anyone who's smugly commenting like, "Oh, I sold him already." Huh? Why would you hold him? Don't let them make you feel bad. Like you took the call that works most of the time. It just hasn't worked this time. So I don't know. You're in a tough spot. Like again, this is one of those random ramblings, right? But he looked bad. Like he looked really bad. He looked really bad in this game. And what I'm seeing as well is, every try Fletcher Sharp scores running support is a try where Kalen Ponga wasn't there, right? He's kind of not playing that fullback role. Like I feel like Fletcher Sharp is kind of playing a bit of a running six fullback type role. And Ponga's kind of sharing the halfback role with Cogger. Like it's just a mess in Newcastle. So my advice is hold one more week, put him in the loophole, expect nothing, and hope for the best against Parramatta. They play early in the round, and if it doesn't pay off, then you can say that you gave him every chance. Bradman Best, I don't think it's as deep for Bradman Best. Just a weird game. He didn't have any tackle breaks. Made a lot of contributions to tries. I thought Bradman Best actually looked all right in this game. You had the line break assist, but no tackle breaks. The one offload there, nearly 200 meters run. So I think if you're a Best owner, you don't freak out as much. I think you'll be fine. But just a game where the stats didn't fall in his favor. And then down the bottom, nothing too crazy to talk about there. So that's the Knights and the Titans. And then Eels Dolphins, Thursday game. And then we'll go into some sort of trade ideas for this week. But for Eels Dolphins, this is a close one. Parramatta nearly clawed it back, but the Dolphins got the dub. I feel like this is a long time ago, this game actually. Parramatta v. the Dolphins. I feel like it was a long weekend. I guess got a lot done. But for the Dolphins here, Herbie Farmworth, 70 points. Isaiah Katoa, 70 points as well. Those two just popped off. So if you own those two, which I know a lot of you guys do, you're on top. You're riding the wave. Isaiah Katoa has been that half, recently. He's the buy cover half. We're talking about three guys. It's Nico Hines, Jamal Fogarty, Isaiah Katoa. Katoa's been the one that's been sort of seeming most likely to pop off for huge scores. Fogarty's been really consistent. Hines, a bit hit and miss. But yeah, Isaiah Katoa, if you're a Katoa owner, 30 tackles, you love to see that. A bunch of tackle breaks there as well. The offload, 2 forced turnovers, 100 meters plus run. You love the 100 meters plus, right? That's what we're looking for. And 600 kick meters. So this is a game where he scored 70 without attacking stats, which is just absurd. So Isaiah Katoa owners, take a bow. Herbie Farmworth, 70 points here. Grab the try and a try assist. So a few more attacking stats for him. But 200 meters run, 7 tackle breaks, good defensive work rate. Didn't have any offloads. That would have boosted him up to like an 80 score. But for Herbie Farmworth, again, if you bought Herbie this week, I know a lot of you guys I was recommending buy Lucas and Herbie as the big two buys. Hopefully you followed that advice and jumped on those two. Josh Addo-Carr, he's been in great form, by the way, Addo-Carr. Parramatta aren't playing great, but I feel like he should be talked about a bit more for Origin. He probably isn't the Origin winger, but he's been in cracking form. And he had 3 line breaks in this game. He created most of them by himself, by the way. Like he had a half break and he had to beat guys to make those breaks. And nearly won the game for Parramatta right at the end as well. So as a Para fan, I love Josh Addo-Carr. This guy is unbelievable. In this game, 200 meters plus run, the 9 tackle breaks, the 3 line breaks, not fantasy relevant at all, but a guy who's killing it in real life, and I love to see it. Then Cody Nikorima, bit of a bounce back, but not for me. Kautonga. If you held Kautonga, you're very happy here, 55 points. Very solid game across the board. So the 3 offloads is the thing that's most encouraging there. He had 40 tackles there as well, and the 80 run meters, and he was very, very impactful in this game in sort of creating some line breaks. Definitely led to results as well. So yeah, Kautonga killing it. The issue with Kautonga is you probably have a lot of centers and a lot of back rowers, so you might be loopholing in round 12 because you got too many guys there. Hamaso, the 54, again, love to see it there. Big score from him. Not a lot of heavy attacking stats. Yongi, boost game there too. So keep sticking with Yongi as long as he keeps on scoring decently. Riley Smith grabbed the 52 with 58 tackles there. Had a few rough plays. So had a few, missed tackles and a few times where he overplayed his hand a little bit. I'm not worried about it. So as a Para fan, I sort of think like they're going to give him those chances to make those plays. Like they're not, Para aren't super worried about it. But, as a fantasy owner, you probably do worry that he does lose minutes. I don't think it's likely. I think he's going to keep on playing, pretty big minutes there, and he's going to cover you for round 12. He'll be fine, but he gets a bit expensive now. Like he's going to bump up past 400K this week. So you're paying pretty high price for him. but over the last few weeks, he has been scoring 50 plus. So if you can average in the 40s there at least, like originally I sort of forecasted, low 40s. That's bumping up into like the mid 40s, maybe high 40s now. But maybe it could be even 50s. Like he's just a tackle machine as well. Dylan Brown scored the try, so had a decent game, 180 run meters, but yeah, just not that interesting for fantasy at this point. We got a lot of half options anyway. Junior Barlow, not consistent enough for me. Ray Stone, solid. Bailey Simonson will be out for like 8 to 10 weeks, so that's a shocker for Para. Could mean someone else comes in. Could mean Samrani gets a spot as well. Samrani in this game, he was playing in the back row, but he might move into a center or a wing spot there too. Mitch Moses, the 42-point game. Yeah, you didn't see Moses as much as the previous weeks in this one. I thought I'd see a bit more of him, but again, not super fantasy relevant. I think he might get picked for Origin. It's just enough of a risk that you don't jump on. Then Finafuyaki, Gilbert, Dylan Walker played big minutes in this one. Sako, Sean Russell, Hopgood. Man, what is with Hopgood right now? I know I'm a Hopgood fan, man. Like, he's a beast, but 40 minutes in this game, 34 points. Like the minutes, man, the minutes. It's like 30 to 40 minutes every week, and he's not making a huge impact with those minutes, but not enough minutes. Like it's bizarre what's going on at Parramatta. I'm hoping that we can turn it around with Hopgood, by the way. So Parramatta's doing a bit of a clean out right now, and you're seeing like Bryce Cartwright, Sean Lane, Ryan Madison, these guys, being like obviously not part of the future vision. So they're guys who've contributed and been good players for Parramatta for a long time, but aren't part of Riles' plan now. I'm hoping Hopgood isn't in that conversation. I'd love for us to keep Hopgood. I think he's a weapon, but it's a bit tough because Dylan Walker has come in and he's playing great footy. So Hopgood's having to learn to play a bit of prop, a bit of hooker at times. But I think really Hopgood's best play here, if he wants to stay at Parramatta, is to play that aggressive prop role a bit more and, just eat up those meters and play into that big work rate. So, yeah, for Hopgood, I'm eyeing him off, but he just doesn't seem to be turning it around. Jack Williams played big minutes. I think Hopgood's better than Williams, by the way, so I don't really understand the minute split there. But again, I'm not the coach. Mark Nichols, good-looking man. That's a good-looking rooster there. Great mustache, bald head. We love to see it. Not interested for fantasy at all. And then Bostock, Avarillo, Kafusi, Kerr, Lemuelu. Yeah, Lemuelu grabbed the try. He's been scoring a lot of tries this year. Dury, Harrison, Graham, Molo. Yeah, look, Penastini. Again, we say it every week. He's getting cheap, but doesn't seem to be turning it around. Geimer and Moretti, really low minutes for them too. So that's Parrot and the Dolphins. So, guys, that's a bit of a recap for this week. Big thing for this week is your pass score is probably in that sort of 980 kind of area. I'll just quickly check, actually, just to make sure no updates have come through. So my score this week, I pumped out 1,026. I'm pretty happy with that. Last week I had a shocker, right? So I'm happy to bounce back a bit this week. But that's, I guess that's done and dusted, guys. So don't panic too much this week. Wait till the official scans come out, and you're probably going to be making some trades. Keep an eye around 12, around 13. We do have a buy planner as well. So if you want to check that out, jump on our Discord. Link is in the description. I'll share that with you there. Otherwise, good luck this week, guys. Peace out.